That was a track called Cherry Bomb. Before that was David Bowie. Friday on My Mind, I think that was originally done by the Easy Beats. But that was on his album where he does all covers, pin-ups. And he did that in like the mid-70s.
Do you know who was in the Easy Beats?
Yeah.
Yeah, George Young, wasn't it?
That's right.
Malcolm and Angus's brother.
Have you seen that documentary?
On the Easy Beats?
It's Malcolm/Easy Beats.
Really?
It's
I haven't.
a fantastic documentary.
Interesting.
Stuff I never knew.
I haven't heard about that at all.
Yeah.
It's interesting, too, how both of them passed away within like 3 or 4 months of each other, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. George died just before Malcolm did.
Yeah.
So, interesting.
Chris Jericho, if you're wondering who that voice is.
The gossamer tones of Chris Jericho.
Beautiful, man.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for coming in. It only took 3 times.
We were talking about it for a while, yeah, and then you kept ditching me. So actually, the last time we were supposed to come in, you got really sick.
I know, and you didn't believe me.
I believed you. Yeah, no, I'm excited. You came on my podcast a few months ago. We had a great time. And to reciprocate, it took us a few times to get our massively busy schedules together, but here we are.
What's your podcast called?
It's called Talk is Jericho.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were great on it. We had a great time.
Thank you.
It was fun, man.
You do like once a week you put a new one up?
Twice a week. And it's been going on for about 4 years. And it's one of the top podcasts kind of in the world now. Because much like you, when I have people on, as you know, I don't have a list of questions. I try and stay away from the typical questions that everybody asks. I mean, sometimes just for my own personal knowledge, I'll ask something. Right. But it's more of just a conversation, man. And when you've done as many interviews as you have and as I have, you know right away when you go into an interviewing situation if it's going to be good or if it's going to be bad.
People can smell a rat.
You can smell it. When a guy pulls out a list of questions and goes through one by one, you're not listening to what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You're too worried about the next question. And the best conversations happen just organically. If we met each other at the pub and just started talking, I wouldn't pull out a list of questions and go, And that's why I think people enjoy it. And people enjoy doing it as well, which is really cool.
Yeah. I was surprised you had some good questions for me when I did your one.
Yeah, well, we were just talking, and that's why I was just kind of listening to what you were saying. And there's a couple things I knew, like you mentioned the Dylan thing and that sort of stuff. Those are kind of like things that I'm interested in. But then you just talk, just chat, man. Those are the best shows that you can do.
I think so. I think a lot of people like the fact that it sounds like it's just two people talking on a couch.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
It's way more refreshing than, hey, how are you?
Exactly. So tell us, how did you start your band? It's like, oh my gosh, dude. I mean, there's 30 years of books you can read about that. But I also like, I do a lot of diverse type of subjects. There's wrestling, there's music, there's paranormal, porn stars, comedians, anybody that I find interesting, like a surfer, a pro surfer. I don't know anything about surfing, but it's pretty interesting to find out about it. And that's kind of cool too, is that when people tune into my show, it doesn't really matter who the guest is. They'll give it a shot because they know if I don't think it's interesting, I won't have them on.
Yeah. I just want to give a shout out to my man, Ron at Bartels. He gave me a loaner Harley while they're putting new bars on my Harley, and he's giving me a loaner.
Nice. Shout out to Ron.
I said I would give him a shout out. And now
you did.
I'd feel terrible if I didn't.
You got it out there.
Because normally I start the show like for 10 minutes by myself. Mm-hmm. That gives me time to do all the nonsense.
So I just barged in.
It's okay, man. No, but it's not all the time. Not all the time.
I hate being late, and I just flew in to Burbank, and boy, are my arms tired. Boom, 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 psh. And I'm driving down the highway, and my friend calls, and I'm talking to him, and I missed the turnoff on the 10. I'm like, I'm going to be late. Jonesy's going to think I'm not going to come. So I called one producer. There was no answer. I called another producer. There was no answer. So I did the modern way of communicating. I DM'd you on Instagram.
And I got it straight
away. You got it right away, yeah.
I just happened to be on there, having a look, and it popped up. It's great.
That was cool, man. So, yeah, I just walked to the door. I thought I was going to be late. So if you have to do your business, I'll stay out for a while.
No, it's all good. It's all good. There was one thing I was going to talk about cigarette butts. How much waste. This guy sent me this, a fan, and now I got to find it on Instagram here. Hold on, here we go. Over the past 25 years, what is the number one debris item that has been found in oceans and waterways during the Ocean Conservancy International Coastal Cleanup? plastic bags, plastic bottles, and cigarette butts.
Really?
Yeah. And that's because people just sling them out their car.
Right.
I mean, I get it. You know, I used to do that too when I used to smoke. But there's all these statistics. I mean, you know, people don't want the cigarettes. They don't mind smoking in the car. And even they don't even like to smoke because they have their windows with their cigarette outside the window. But just have a plastic bottle with some water and put it out in that and just...
Well, you figure if there's millions of people that still smoke and you're throwing out 1 million cigarette butts, it all adds up.
This is the thing. It says there are over 176 million pounds of discarded cigarette butts in the United States each year.
Wow. And those aren't biodegradable either. Those are those filters that are made of, I don't even know what the hell they're made of.
Yeah.
Fiberglass, maybe?
Whatever it is.
That's why it's good. A lot of people are vaping now.
That's better.
That's better for you, and it's better for the environment. Right?
Yeah.
So it's actually funny. Randy Bachman from the Guess Who and Bachman Turner Overdrive.
Yeah.
I just had him on the other day on my show, and he's saying that somewhere in the ocean with all the currents, there's like an island of plastic bottles and plastic cups and all these non-biodegradable things in the middle. It's like, I don't know the size of, Manhattan or whatever the hell. But then it would make sense. People just throw this stuff into the water.
Yeah.
It's not sinking. It's not dissolving. It's got to go somewhere.
Well, it works its way to the ocean through the drain tunnels.
Yeah. Right, sure.
Everything, when it rains, when it never does, but when it does rain, the wall, the side of the gutters, all that water goes to the ocean.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that's
Exactly.
where a lot
And it's
of
got to end up somewhere. So, don't throw your stuff out the window, people. That's the lesson.
Don't flush them out.
Don't throw Moody.
I went through this yesterday with Moby. I had him on the box, and I said, "Are you Canadian?" He said, "No." I said, "You say the out word like Canadian." That's so bizarre.
Well, it's funny because that's Eastern Canada, like Toronto and stuff. Those guys talk like out and about.
Yeah.
Whereas where I'm from, which is Winnipeg, it's the middle of the country, and that's more like if you've ever seen the movie Fargo. Oh yeah, what's all good? You betcha. How are you? You want to have some supper, eh?
True coats. I asked for true coats.
Yeah, get rid of that true coat, eh? So that's kind of where I come from, that area. There's different dialects, but yeah, you can always tell a Canadian whenever you hear one if you know anything about accents.
Yeah. Now, is Winnipeg in the middle? Is it like a small town?
Oh, well, I
Is it a
mean,
big city?
It's a big city for Canada. I think it's probably about 800,000 now. So it's like maybe like an Omaha or something like that. It's not super small, but it's right over North Dakota. So if you know anything about U.S. geography, people go, where's Winnipeg at? It's right above
yeah.
North Dakota,
Yeah.
So it's not very big, but it's kind of it's the only big city in that big central area of Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, what is it? Just moose and stuff in between?
Yeah, it's just flat prairies, man. You don't even need, you could just put your car and just take your hands off the wheel, and as long as your car has a good suspension where it drives straight, you won't even have to touch anything because there's nothing. It's one big, long, straight road, and if there's a tree, it's like a monument.
Yeah.
There's a tree. There's a tree. Yeah, that's the prairies. It's literally the prairies.
Yeah. It's probably cold most of the year.
Yeah,
right?
it's freezing cold up there, man. Like when I grew up there, actually, I was just back a couple years ago, and this is a true story. You can actually look it up on Google. It's not exaggeration. It was colder in Winnipeg with the wind chill than it was on the surface of Mars.
Wow.
So there you go. It was like minus 65 or something, and Mars was like minus 60.
Yeah.
So when you grow up there, you're never cold.
Yeah.
Like I'm never cold.
Yeah.
Anytime, any place, anywhere. Even when we go to England, where it's wet and damp, still I'm fine.
Yeah.
You know?
What when you were at school? Was you good at school? You're a rebel.
Well, not necessarily, but here's what I was into. When I was about 13 years old, I decided I wanted to be in a rock band and I wanted to be a wrestler. Those are my two goals.
Huh.
And why? Different reasons for both, but people kind of thought I was a little bit nuts to think that you want to do both of these things. You can't even do one, and I never even thought about why I can't do it. I just thought, well, maybe I will go for it. And so I was okay at school, but more of a, people like us, artists, creative.
Yeah.
So writing and English and those type of things I was good at. Math and chemistry, very bad. Because I knew I wanted to be creative.
Yeah.
And whether it meant making it in show business or not, wrestling is creative. It's art. It's personality. It's charisma. And so is being a musician, connecting with the audience and just being, in front of the camera, rather than behind it. So I was an okay student, but I was good at the things like I spoke about, music and writing and that sort of stuff, acting.
So did you do wrestling first before a band?
No, I played in bands since I was 13.
You were singing?
I was playing bass,
Yeah.
and what happened was, you know how it is. You find, oh, this guy he's going to start trying to play drums, and he's an okay guitar player, so I'll start playing bass.
Yeah.
So we used to practice in the drummer's garage. His name was Warren Rumpel, and right beside him there was a house with two really pretty girls. They lived next door to each other. I remember there was Carla McNacker and Lorraine Foster, and they used to walk past his house to get home every day. So we would jam in the garage, and we'd jam "You Really Got Me," but nobody would sing. So it was just like
Yeah.
and they would walk by. The girls are coming, start playing. You know, try and look cool as the girls walk by. And finally, after about a month of this, the girls, as they walked by one day, yelled out, "Don't you guys know another song?" And then the other one went, "Yeah, doesn't anybody ever sing?" So it's like, well, who wants to sing? Well, this guy doesn't want to sing, and you can't have a singing drummer. That doesn't, even the Eagles doesn't look cool.
Yeah.
So I started singing and playing bass at the same time. That's kind of how it all started for that.
So you was doing the Van Halen version? Or the,
Yeah, the Van Halen version.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the rock version. It was the 80s, you know?
He came on a couple of weeks ago, Dave Davis.
Oh, right on. Yeah.
He was great.
Classic band and classic riff there.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Kinks had a lot of good riffs.
I think we should play some music, huh? You got some, what are you playing, Van Halen or Kings? Van Halen. We're here with Chris Jericho. You're listening to Jonesy's Jukebox on
That was my pick.
And I love that song.
It's a great tune, man, yeah.
Van Halen, Eruption, into You Really Got Me. And you're playing tonight in San Diego, the House of Blues,
Yes.
the house of everything but blues
Yeah, exactly.
in San Diego. And you're playing the
whiskey.
whiskey on Saturday.
Yeah, tomorrow night.
All right.
Yeah, here in town with Fozzy. Yeah, we're excited, man. We're on tour right now. Like I said, we had Phoenix last night. So and then we do San Francisco later on in the week and continue up the West Coast. So, and you'll understand this. So we've been doing the band for a while, and we've had some songs that are popular amongst certain people. But then this new song Judas came out, and it just went through the roof. Like, for whatever reason, you don't analyze it; it just happens. And it was top 5 on rock radio and 16 million views on YouTube, and sold hundreds of thousands of iTunes singles, which in this day and age is ridiculous. And it puts you on a different level, like to have the elusive hit single. So it's been really cool.
How did you get it out there? Is it a video?
Well, it's a video, but it's a single too. So it's rock radio, which nowadays people say that rock radio is kind of dead. It's really not. I mean, there's no active rock stations in LA or New York, but you go to Janesville, Wisconsin, and Tempe, Arizona, and Spokane, Washington. Rock radio is very big, and it still has a lot of influence in how big your band can get if you're in that world. So.
Yeah.
I learned a lot over the last 7 months since Judas came out, because you're watching the charts every week and how many spins you get. And we got moved from medium play to heavy play.
Yeah.
And all that stuff I never really knew about. You just, as a musician, you don't think about that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it really makes a difference.
You just want to ride around in a limousine.
Absolutely. Hookers and blow. Who cares about how many spins you have in Poughkeepsie, New York? But it makes a difference. That's how you get the hookers and blow, is by getting the spins in Poughkeepsie. But yeah, so it's been a pretty cool few months since this song came out. So it's, like I said, it's pretty gratifying after all these years.
And do you personally, or do you have a manager?
Yeah.
How do you find out how many times you've sold something on iTunes?
Well, so we're on Sony Records now. So Sony will send me a report every week, because I'm one of those guys. I like knowing the figures and
I would
facts.
love to, yeah.
I'm not one of those guys that just play guitar. No, I need to know. So every week I'll get a email from Sony. It'll tell me how many songs you've sold, how many albums you've sold, how many streams you have. And then you get a third number now, which is the equivalent. So if you do like 100,000 units sold and then 14 million streams on Spotify, those 14 million will get equivalent to sales, which is like really low, like 100,000 or something along those lines. So you've sold 100,000 copies, you've had 14 million streams, and that equals 200,000 sold. So you get those every week,
Right?
Because streaming is very obviously the way things are now. People aren't really buying music as much anymore.
No,
but they stream it. So
my question is, like, why do you need a record company? They're not making CDs.
You really don't. I mean, I think the biggest thing about record companies is if you're going to play the radio game, which you still have to play unless, you're Kiss or unless you're Ozzy or unless you're Sex Pistols or whatever, bands that have Foo Fighters, bands that have it, but even the Foo Fighters still have a lot of songs on the radio.
Yeah.
The last song was number 2 or 3. But if you're still building your band, you have to get that radio play, which builds it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where the record company comes in, probably the biggest benefit of being on a record label at this point in time.
Yeah.
Because you don't, like you said, you're not selling albums anymore.
Yeah.
They
They ain't making any product.
No, they're
it's
not.
Just all on a bleeding. It's in thin air.
That's right. I mean, you still, like, when we do gigs and we do signings still at, like, the mom and pop record stores, people still like having the signed vinyl or the signed
Sure.
CD. But to actually just go to a store and buy it, people don't do that anymore. They want the souvenir and the experience of getting your autograph. So whenever we do in-stores, it's always packed because people want that signage and shaking of the hand and taking the picture.
Yeah.
But then they probably go home and don't even listen to the damn thing, just go stream it anyways.
Right.
It's now like a souvenir, like when I was a kid, you used to have pennants of like your favorite football team or baseball team. It's like the equivalent of a pennant. You get your CD and put it on the wall and then go listen to it on your phone anyways.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but that's kind of, it's not the wave of the future. It's the wave of now of streaming and all that sort of thing. And there are kind of advancements for the artists to make more money off the streaming, which is the big disconnect now.
When you say streaming, you mean from
Spotify.
I heard that they give you like nothing though.
Well,
for streaming.
Like I said, we have 14 million streams of Judas, and I think the equivalent is like 80,000 sales. So 14 million to 80,000. I was talking to my friend last night. I'm not an idiot savant. I actually added this last night. It's 0.006% is what you get for the payoff from the sales.
Wow.
From the streams. So, you don't get a lot of money from streaming.
So they're kind of actually worse than record companies then.
Well, I mean, it's almost like an old school radio station. When I was a kid, I used to have a little cassette player, and I would wait for my favorite song to come on, and then I'd record it.
Right.
And you'd be waiting all day,
Right.
like, oh, please play the new Ozzy song or whatever, and then you'd record it. So this is kind of now you don't have to worry about waiting for it. But I think, like you said, it's very small amount of money going to the artist. It's all about touring now, Steve.
Yeah.
Touring. T-shirts, selling merch, and the experience, like the VIPs. Like our VIP program, what we've done, and for years we've tried different things. We used to go out for dinner with the fans and do all these different things. And now what we do, actually took the idea from Kiss. You got a sound check, right? We do a mini concert for the VIPs as we sound check. So you play 4 or 5 songs, a couple covers, a couple songs you're not going to hear later. People go nuts for that. Our VIP sales are through the roof because you're getting that experience.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's what people want. Like when I was a kid, if Metallica had that, I would have paid whatever to go watch Metallica sound check and hear some songs that you're not going to hear later on or have that interaction. So that's all part of it now. Let's kind of replace the revenue you might make from album sales.
That's never going to come back, is it? Like a record company as it was.
I don't think so. I think times have changed.
It's like Netflix.
Well, yeah,
it's genius.
Sure, but it killed off Blockbuster Video,
all
for
that
example.
stuff.
It's done, and once the genie's out of the bottle, you can't put it back. It's just too convenient now. Like for us, our generation is the last generation of people that buy albums, CDs, whatever it may be. My kids are growing up never buying anything, and they're not stealing because it's free.
Yeah.
There was that time frame, like, you're stealing our music, and now it's like, it's just the way it goes. So it's kind of a drag.
It had a long run.
It did.
Had a long run.
It did. But now, how do you replace that lost revenue? And hopefully there'll be some new ways to do that coming up, or we're just going to be kind of wandering minstrels around the planet with our little mandolins playing music around a campfire.
Busking,
holding out a
please,
cap.
Sir.
Please, sir, can I have some more? So yeah, I mean, it's a weird time right now for musicians, but you do it because you love to play music, not because you want to make money,
Well, you're always going to have people that want to play rock and roll or
Yeah.
any kind of music that's just in people. It's just in you. So
Right.
It's just happens to be at a time where you ain't making a lot of dough right now. That's all.
Yeah,
there is to
exactly. I
it.
mean, like I said, there are other ways, but you got to be smart and kind of think outside the box.
Yeah. Let's play your song, Fozzy. Judas.
Yeah. Fozzie's big hit. This is our big hit single, Judas.
Jonesy's Jukebox, KLOS with my friend Chris Jericho. You're listening to Jonesy's Jukebox on KLOS. That was U2, Until the End of the World. That was the song for some dosh. Before that was Him, Rip Out the Wings of a Butterfly. Now, the name Him, I see there's dots. Do you know what the name was?
His Infernal Majesty.
Ah,
Oh, wow.
okay.
Took a dark tone, didn't it?
And then we had Fozzy, Judas, the big hit.
The big hit. Yes, sir, Jonesy. Yeah, man, it's cool. It's cool to hear that in KLOS. Some
Yeah.
modern rock and roll.
Yep. Again, you're playing tonight at the House of Everything that Blues in San Diego. And tomorrow you're playing at the Whiskey A Go-Go.
Yeah. Classic place, man. We've played there a bunch of times, and every time you play there, you just, every band that was ever a band played at the Whiskey.
Yeah.
And it's actually, the last time I played there was for Lemmy's 70th birthday
Yeah, I
party.
was there.
Yeah, you were there.
I played.
Yeah, I played too. We were obviously in different. What song did you guys do?
I played with Billy Idol
Yeah.
and Duff
Uh-huh.
and Billy Duffy.
What'd you guys
and
do?
Matt. We played 50s songs like Come On Everybody and
The stuff that Lemmy liked.
he's
Yeah.
he's a 50s dude, man.
Rock and roll.
He's a 50s dude.
We did Beer Drinkers and Hellraisers by ZZ Top. And it was, listen to this, as one of these things does not belong, one is not the other. It was Jericho on vocals, Scott Ian on guitar, Charlie Benanti on drums, Rob Trujillo on bass, and Slash on guitar. So it's Guns N' Roses, Anthrax, Metallica, and me.
Yeah.
But it was great. And Lemmy was sitting up on, he had that kind of like the big throne type thing upstairs.
Yeah.
And couldn't have cared less. He was just kind of hanging out, and he was there because everyone wanted to celebrate him. But I remember he was
Yeah.
sitting in a chair reading a book the whole time.
He was very frail.
He
though.
was. I went
was
to talk
very
to him, and you could see that he was kind of at the end of the rope. And right after he died, 2 weeks later, to the
Yeah.
day. So I'm glad that I was able to do that.
Yeah, me too.
It was a really cool moment. As a friend of Lemmy, but also as a fan, as a professional, as a musician, it was a great night.
Did you know him? Did you hang out with him?
I actually got to know him probably within the last 5 or 6 years of his life. I knew him for a while earlier than that, but I hung out with him during the last, maybe went to his house a few times and hung out. Just if I was in town, I would give him a call and go over and just hang around for a bit.
The flat around the corner.
Yeah, well, not the one. He had a new place because the other place was so small and had so much stuff in it. So that became kind of his Motorhead place. But all of his World War II artifacts, he moved to this other joint just down the road.
Yeah.
So that was where we used to go and hang. It's a great story where I had him on my podcast and he asked me if I wanted a cigarette. And I hadn't smoked probably since I was 19 years old. But when Lemmy asks you if you want a cigarette in his house, you smoke a freaking cigarette. And then he said, "You want some vodka?" And I was like, "Well, sure, I'll have some vodka, but aren't you supposed to like not drink anymore?" And he's like, "Well, that's okay. I just stopped drinking whiskey." And I'm like, "And your liver knows the difference between whiskey
Now
and
I'm drinking vodka and orange because
Yeah.
the orange is healthy.
Yeah, exactly. It's breakfast because there's orange in it. But yeah, his idea of quitting drinking was they said, "Okay, I don't drink brown alcohol or red. I just drink clear."
Yeah.
Well, the alcohol's still in it, Lem. But he actually told me one time too. He said, "If I can't smoke anymore and if I can't drink anymore, I don't want to be around. It's what I like to do. Okay, now I'm going to become a health nut." Like he goes, "F that." So,
Yeah.
and that was kind of his attitude, man.
Yeah.
But good guy. And actually, and you know this, and anybody that knew him know this, that he was very smart, a gentleman, very nice, very kind, not gruff and crazy at all. Although I'm sure he was back in your guys' time. But for
Yeah.
me, he was always really friendly and very polite.
No, he was a gentleman.
Yeah, exactly.
He really was.
Yeah.
I don't even remember him when I was like 19 down Portobello Road when I was buying speed off him. I never remembered him being an ass. He was always a nice guy.
He was a nice speed dealer.
What'd you call it? The stuff you snort?
Cocaine?
No, speed. It's,
Yeah.
It was it had a name to it. Sulfate.
Oh my gosh, sulfate. That doesn't sound good.
I forgot that name. There was a name, an English term for it. Anyway, you know, it kill you, this stuff.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's like poison. I can probably say this now, but the one thing I never do edits on my podcast unless somebody says something really stupid. I'll take care of an edit. But the best request for an edit I ever got was from Lemmy when he goes, "Hey, can you do me a favor and edit out the part where I say still do speed? My manager will get mad at me." And I was like, "Yeah, I can do that for you, Lem."
Hilarious. We got to visit the Duke. We're going to visit the Duke. We're here with Chris Jericho. When we come back, more chit chat, some more rock and roll.
So there's this major event about to happen in Southern California, folks.
Into Jonesy's Jukebox on Cal OS. That was Ghost, Square Hammer. Then we had Mick Ronson, his version of White Light, White Heat, Velvet Underground song. Then we had Motorhead, Killed by Death. My guest is Chris Jericho.
By deaf.
Deaf.
Killed by deaf. I was going to tell you the story about you were going to play Ace of Spades. I said, don't play Ace of Spades. And the reason why is one time I went to a radio station with Lemmy and I both had a show and we were promoting together. It was in Phoenix, actually. And two things. I remember we were driving over there in the limo and he's asked me if I wanted a whiskey. And I said, sure. And he reached into the ice thing to get some ice and his hand was like filthy dirty, like stuff all over it. And I was like, well, maybe like hopefully the straight alcohol will kill any of the germs on his hand. So then we go to the radio station. The guy's okay, we're gonna play some Motorhead. He's like, all right, you want to play some Ace of Spades? And Lemmy's like, you know, I've had like 15 albums since Ace of Spades. Why don't you play something from the new record? And the guy goes, I don't have the new record. And Lemmy goes, I do. And he pulled the CD out of his pocket and gave it to the guy and said, play track 3. And that's what he told me. Always bring your CD to the radio station because they'll never have it.
Yeah.
So if you have it on you, they have to play it.
It probably killed that guy to play it as well,
It
right?
probably did.
got fired.
Yeah, man.
Oh, man. So I got to ask you, what made you get into wrestling?
I used to watch it with my grandma when I was about maybe 8 years old or so in Canada. And it just seemed something really interesting to me. Like my dad used to play pro hockey. He played for the New York Rangers and he played for the LA Kings, actually. The first version of the LA Kings, my dad was on the team. And I liked hockey, but it was just kind of a nameless, faceless thing. Just a bunch of guys wearing the same outfits, and you couldn't really see their face.
Like Ghost.
Like Ghost, exactly. And but with wrestling, much like rock and roll, you had these big, larger-than-life personalities that you could tell. I like that guy, and I like this guy. So it was just more of the characters and the personality. Is what drew me in. It was the same with music. I always liked Paul Stanley and David Lee Roth and Bruce Dickinson and Freddie Mercury, the guys with the big personalities, and that's what attracted me to the same type of vibe for the wrestlers that I was into as well.
Was you a big kid?
Not really, kind of small. Yeah, kind of small. I used to get like, I remember the big junior high school bully. His name was Chuck Fontaine. And he used to beat me up all the time in school. And I was like, man, used to be like, the victim of bullying. And if I saw him now, I would run screaming away from him. Because he said, just like that was just the bad. So I was never really big, which is another reason why when I said to people I wanted to be a wrestler at that age, they were like laughing. And like, you'll never do that. You'll never be a wrestler. You'll never be in a band. And I never really listened, once again, to any of that stuff. So I just started like lifting weights and I was never really big when I started wrestling even, but I knew I could have the biggest personality and the biggest charisma and connect with the audience. Yeah. And that's the most important thing. Same with a great frontman in a rock band. You have to connect with the crowd. And if you can do that, you'll have them in the palm of your hands and they'll always come back to see you.
So was that your stage name or was that your real name?
Chris Jericho.
Yeah.
That's my stage name.
Yeah.
I got it from when I was getting ready for my first match. And it was in Calgary, which is kind of a rodeo town. And they decided they wanted to call me Cowboy, like Chris, whatever it was. And I hated the name. I never wanted to be Cowboy Chris or whatever it was. So I had the idea I wanted to call myself Jack Action. And they were like, Jack Action's a terrible name. You can't be Jack Action. So they're like, we need a name now. And there was a German power metal band called Halloween. And they had an album called Walls of Jericho. and it was sitting in the front seat of my car, my '76 Ferrari, half green, half rust, and the cassette, Walls of Jericho. And I said, "Oh, I'm Chris Jericho," and they're like, "Fine, you're Cowboy Chris Jericho," and I'm like, "I don't want to be a freaking cowboy." So my very first show, I was listed as Cowboy Chris Jericho from Casper, Wyoming, which apparently is where all the cowboys live. But I was the worst cowboy ever because I didn't wear a cowboy hat, I didn't wear cowboy chaps, whatever, and so they dropped it right after that. But that's where I got it from, thanks to Halloween.
Yeah. And Jericho is like Native American Indian, right? Jericho.
I don't know. I know it's like the walls of Jericho from the Bible. You know, it might be an American Indian, like a tribe, maybe.
For some reason, I think there was something to do with.
It could be. I've never heard that, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure. But like I said, it's like the walls of Jericho from the Bible type of a thing. And
what did you think of the movie The Wrestler? Was it?
thought it was great.
Accurate?
Yeah, it was really good. It was actually really, really good because I knew a lot of guys and know a lot of guys like that. Go to the top and then go to the bottom, and still that's what they know how to make a living doing. So it was really good because most wrestling movies suck.
Yeah.
But this one really nailed it on the head. And it was very haunting
Yeah.
in a lot of ways. And it also was like, I'm never going to allow myself to end up in that situation. So
How do you think some of them fall by the wayside? Who are good wrestlers? Is there drugs
dude,
involved?
it's so similar to music, man. It really is. I mean, life on the road, being in show business, and if you make it at a younger age, you got all this money, all these people want to know you, and if you let it go to your head, it can.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of guys died before they were 40 in wrestling. Probably way more in wrestling than the music business. It's changed now. It's a different world, and there's a lot more.
They died because they were beaten up.
Just a lot of drugs, man. A lot of drugs, and I'm sure beaten up. But you start getting into the painkillers and all that sort of stuff,
Right.
and then all the other hard drugs that you can get into. But I never got into it, man. I was really lucky. I never did drugs my whole life. I mean, a couple little things here and there, but never did cocaine. Was never a pill guy. I just like to drink. That's always been my vice, is drinking.
So did you retire?
No, I just worked a big show at the Tokyo Dome back in January. But I don't wrestle full time. I haven't. Fozzie's been the priority since about 2010.
Yeah.
And as the band grew and gets bigger, the wrestling gets less and less and less. And I'll still do it from time to time. But in this biz, in music, when you start getting some steam, you got to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
And really focus. And that's what
Yeah.
we've been doing. It's been paying off. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because you were like on top there for a while, right?
Yeah, man. I mean, even up until last year, 2016-17, Fozzy was taking a break in between album cycles, and I went back and just had this killer year because I have the experience. I know what to do, and once again, I know how to connect with the audience. It's
Yeah.
show business, man. I mean,
Are you a good guy? They always boo at the bad guy.
yeah. I'm always better as a bad guy. I can do both,
Yeah.
but it's always more fun to be bad.
Yeah.
Piss people off.
Yeah.
It's a lot harder to get people to hate you than it is to get them to like you. But once they really hate you, then they start to like you. It's
Yeah.
very hard to stay hated. Just like the best villains of all time, whether it be the Terminator or Hannibal Lecter or Freddy Krueger, the Joker, Heath Ledger, the Joker. They're so entertaining that you don't hate them. You start to like them.
Right.
And that happens in wrestling as well. So to be a really hated bad guy for a long period of time is very hard to do.
Yeah.
You know?
What's he like, that guy, the main guy who owns it all?
Vince McMahon.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a great guy. Yeah, he's a boss, so he has to be stern at times, but pretty cool guy, man. It's fun to hang out with and very smart. I learned a lot from him. He loves AC/DC. So anybody that loves AC/DC is okay with me,
Yeah.
man.
It's
But
still a big business, right? It's still,
huge billion-dollar company.
Yeah.
Big, yeah.
Do you ever heard of a guy called Mick McManus?
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
they used to do. I remember when I was a kid, like watching it on the black and white TV. They used to have tag teams. Mick McManus and it was another one. They were always the bad guys.
Right,
Mick
right.
McManus and
Well, they go up against Big Daddy, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And they were so out of shape, these dudes back then.
Big Daddy was just a big, like 7 foot tall fat guy
Yeah.
that all the kids loved, but in reality he hated children.
Yeah.
That's the big story.
What we doing? We playing music or let's just give you another plug. Playing tonight, Fosse. Am I saying it right?
Fozzy.
Fozzie, like the Fonz.
Like I'm not Fonzie, Fozzie.
Fonzie's playing tonight. Happy days, baby.
People show up thinking we're a Happy Days tribute band.
They're playing tonight. Tomorrow night at the Whiskey A Go Go, and tonight they're playing at the House of Blues in San Diego. We're going to play a bit of a sensational Alex Harvey band right now. This is a track called Faye Feeling. You're listening to Jonesy's Jukebox on KLOS. That was a sensational Alex Harvey band, Faye Feeler. Lovely. We're here with Chris Jericho. He's going to fly down to not fly.
Well, not literally, but proverbially.
Yeah, down to the San Diego House of Blues. They're playing tonight.
Unless you lend me your chopper. Can I use your helicopter?
Yeah, sure.
The Jonesy's private helicopter. Fuel it up, boys.
Gas it up. And tomorrow, the Whiskey A Go Go, and you've got your album out, Judas.
Yes, very excited, man. It's been going great. Good tour. We got actually, we're on tour with a band from Finland. You guys played him. We're on a tour with a band from Finland called Santa Cruz. So it's always good to learn some Finnish.
Yeah.
And they can drink vodka like me. So it's a good group of guys.
Do you get drunk a lot?
Probably more on tour than you do at home, because there's really nothing to do on tour.
In some motel somewhere.
Or just on the bus, right? Like, I mean, if you're riding to the next town and you get on, and it's like, let's say the bus calls at 2 a.m. So you finish the gig, you hang out in the dressing room, nothing to do, have a drink, get in the bus, have a drink. So you got to kind of watch it, because it's very easy to get into that habit of just drinking every night.
Yeah.
For really no reason. Like, I like to have a drink if there's a reason and there's a party going on and something cool, but just sitting on the bus drinking as you're driving down the road, I got to put a stop to that. I have a while ago. So,
Yeah.
because whenever you go to the doctor, right, and they're like, do you drink? And it's like, well, yeah, like once a week or once every 2 weeks. I'm like, 5 times a week, 4 times a week, and is that bad? You got to watch all that,
Yeah.
It catches up to you.
Yeah. What you got, Shovel?
This portion of Jonesy's Jukebox brought to you by Cece's. That's it.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah.
Well, that was good. Cece's Pizza.
Yes.
CC Ryder.
Oh, there you go.
Are we visiting the Duke?
Yeah.
We're going to visit the Duke when we come back. A little bit more rock and roll and chit chat. Thank you. You've been listening to Jonesy's Jukebox on KLOS. That was Lemmy. That was a track no one's heard, I don't think. We Are the Ones, a collaboration with guitarist Chris
De Klerk.
de Klerk.
Yeah. I like that little cough in there. He's from Switzerland, so that could be part of his name.
Yeah, he yodels as well, I hear.
Chris de Klerk.
Yes,
Yeah. It's funny because I saw that guy at the Rainbow, I don't know, about 6 months ago, and he was telling me about this song, and you always think, oh, whatever. But that's actually pretty cool. That could be the last vocal of Lemmy's career.
Yeah.
I bet you Motorhead fans would go nuts to have that released.
Yeah. Well, there you go. There you have it.
Thanks to Jonesy's Jukebox.
That's it. He's the man.
Yeah, right there.
Then we had Fozzie, Painless.
Yes.
That was your band, and
Yes.
you are playing tonight at the House of Blues in San Diego, and tomorrow at the Whiskey.
Yeah, man, returning to the Whiskey. I think it's our 4th time we've played there. And like I said, always a great time at the Whiskey. I'd rather play the Whiskey than, like, I think at first they were going to put us at the El Rey Theater or something.
Downtown.
I said, dude, let's not go downtown. Let's do the Whiskey. It's a classic place. Everyone knows where it is. And until you can start playing the Will Turn or something,
Right.
just let us play the Whiskey. That's what we're going to do.
Roxy's good too. The Roxy's fun.
It is, yeah. The Roxy's got a cool vibe, but something about the Whiskey I just like.
Well, it's definitely been around for a while.
What has I never want to sit in the couches upstairs, though, because you never know what's been going on for the last 40 years up in the dressing room of the Whiskey.
It's not pretty.
Yeah, exactly, right?
We had Boston before that, Something About You, and that was dedicated to Brad Delp on a sad day when he committed suicide in 2007 on this day. What you got, Shovel?
This portion of Jonesy's Jukebox brought to you by United Airline. And we have a pair of tickets to give away. We can do that when you guys are wrapped up.
Pair of tickets for what?
Well, it's Jonesy interviewing Dexter and Noodles from The Offspring, a special KLOS Subaru live stage next Wednesday, March 14th at noon. So let's do it right now. We'll take caller 25 at 800-955-KLOS. Score passes and lunch by Chronic Tacos, powered by Subaru.
Wow. Good stuff.
That's it. We'll be back Monday.
Are we done?
We're done.
Oh, I thought we still had 10 minutes.
No.
Okay. Well, can I end it off with a Duff McKagan joke of the week?
Go on in.
Our mutual friend.
Is it clean?
Of course it's clean.
He's listening, you know.
Well, I know, that's why I'm telling it.
Go on in.
Did you hear that the Italian chef died?
No.
Yeah, he passed away.
Passed away. I'm glad it was short.
That's all he does. He calls me every 2 weeks and leaves like a 10-second message.
I know. I get it all the time too.
Jonesy, thanks for having me, man. I'm glad this finally worked out.
Yeah, it was great. Thanks
Great
for
time.
coming by,
Absolutely.
man. And don't forget, it's going to rain tomorrow, and it's lovely. Oh, and the other big news: clocks go forward, spring forward, fall back Saturday night.
Really?
So you get an extra hour of daylight in the evening, which I'm so excited about.
All right, extra hour. So you have an extra hour of the night.
Spring forward, fall back. That means
So you lose an hour, or do you gain one?
You lose an hour, but then it's light an hour later after that.
Talk about two idiots trying to figure out the time zones here. You got to lie me and a Canadian. Be the one that can figure out what time zone we're in.
But I love it when it's light at night.
You like, yeah?
I don't like it when it's dark at 5 o'clock.
Okay. Well,
That's just me.
you're a sunny guy now.
Yeah, I'm a sunny,
You're
happy chap.
Sunny disposition, yeah.
All right, we'll see you all Monday. Bye-bye.